Welcome to Gaia Rising Now TV. It's Easter, and we have a really special show for you today. First and foremost, we have a visit from the Easter Bunny.
Here comes Peter Cottontail.
Oh yeah, and the puppet poet. Okay. There's little John Lennon. Yay! Hey Johnny. Uh-oh, John. Okay, so, oh well, I think that's a little much for poor John. Oh, John, you disappeared.
There you are.
Oh, John. So, anybody who knows about John, you got newspaper in your face? No? Okay. He's a lion, he's got a lion head rabbit that we rescued, and he's our white rabbit. He had, oh gosh, I don't know what the technical terms are for what was going on with his feet, but he was told, we were told that his right foot should be cut off, amputated, and since we didn't have money to do so, here, I'll let him sit here. Since we didn't have money to do so, I just had to use my crystals and my healing techniques, along with a lot of love and care, and
cleaning him many times.
And in spite of what the doctor said, we saved his right rear leg. So a few months after that, as the doctor predicted, the infection, the toxic chronic infection, jumped from his now cured right leg, back leg, to his left back leg. And once again, they threatened amputation, and I just broke down crying and said, no, let me try to heal him. So, once again, woohoo, his legs, his feet, while he's got chronic sores on the bottom of them, he's healed. He does have literally 2 left feet. Can't really see it, but they're kind of going the wrong way. But he's our baby boyfriend. Anyway, he wanted to say hi. Hi, John. He looks, what does he look like? He looks like a monkey. I don't know. I feel bad for him.
All I see is a nose and hair.
I know.
It's like a nose with hair.
I feel bad for him because
he's very
you can't
attractive
see his eyes. Where's your eyes, John?
There it is.
There's his eye. Okay, let's see. Let's see if you can look at everybody.
That's not even real.
Okay. There you go.
That's just a puppet I made.
Hello. Hello.
It's abominable snowman fetus.
And there's another little eyeball over here. Hello. Where's your eyeball? Where's your eyeball? Alright, so, and then if I pull his hair up here, then pull this down here, and you start to see he's got a face there. Okay. Oh, there he is. Anyway, we've done everything to rescue this little guy, keep him going. Right now,
pretty happy. He sleeps with his friend Bill the cat.
Yeah, Bill is his best friend. And the two of them just hang out. He's kind of got me owned. Anytime he wants something, he just pretends like he's gonna get an infection again. He does it quite often. Okay, so we're gonna begin the show. Bye-bye. Bye, little rabbit. Okay. Oh my gosh. Thank you, Puppet Poet. Yeah, just put him over there. Awesome. So today we have a really sad message to deliver. But I'd like to turn it into an empowering one. And John's making noise back there, but we lost a dear friend in a comrade, an artisan, a musician, And when I say we, I mean the whole world, the Fresno art community. Tony was a really awesome bass player. He was most recently the bass player in Llama Boy, Fresno's Llama Boy. And before that, he was in a band called Monkey Wrench. He'll be missed greatly by many, many people.
Just waiting for the river to run to the sea. Well, I'm just waiting for the river to bury me. Well, I'm just waiting for the river to run to the sea.
This is what is meant when we ascend. We become less dense. We are co-creators interdimensionally.
I'm just waiting for the river to bury me. I'm just waiting for the river to run to the sea. I'm just waiting for the river to bury me. I'm just waiting for the river to run to the sea.
Create the desired outcome, see it and figure it out. Use heart and mind to set it in motion.
The Industrial Revolution is over. The Industrial Revolution is sputtering to a stop like an old Model T running out of gas. Bangs and rattles announce the final gasp. But never fear, it's still a beautiful day to get out of the old, noisy rust bucket and walk under sky, under stars. Who, with the infinite patience of immortal things, were waiting for us to look up again.
The circumstances that are surrounding the energy that we're inside of right now, I really needed to kind of postpone Balt, and I apologize. I thank him for participating, and hopefully we'll get him for next month. But we really needed to address, like just the intensity of the things that are going on right now. Tony's suicide, this upcoming blood moon, and where we're shifting out of and into these last moments of purification as we do this, lunar eclipse, and we've got some opposition with Aries and Libra, which is kind of intense, to say the least. So there's a lot of great supportive energy as well. These are purifications that we have to go through if we're going to get to the other side. We have to look at our shadow side and once and for all, address and pour that peroxide in the wounds. I know the things that I've been looking at have taken me back to the early 90s, things that were happening in 93, 94, and then like around 96, 97. So there's that correlation right now with going back to that period of time, and it makes sense also because as we're reaching this point where society's really catching on with the GMOs, and the GMOs were seeded into society, into our food stream, in that same period of time. So we're kind of karmically coming back around to what was created in the 90s, where we left off, what we were cut off from, things that we were working on. We're going back and we're having sort of a second look at what that meant in our lives and to the here and now of this moment. Some of that's painful. I know for me it's been very painful. A lot of abandonment, a lot of duality. And so I really wanted to make sure that what we talked about were things that people could relate to in the here and now of right this moment, and feel like they had a support system for recognizing that the pain that you're feeling, the mirrors that you're having to look at, the shadow sides that you're having to, embrace, the peroxide you're having to pour into the wounds, is this final purification. And we're doing it individually and we're doing it societally. So, know you're not alone, and just do your best to have integrity, to honor your feelings, to fight, because it's okay to be a spiritual warrior. The New Age says, oh no, warriors, no, no, no. No, warriors, yeah, spiritual warriors right now. Tony DiEgidio, who is originally from Wilmington, Delaware, he unfortunately committed suicide on March 21st, and he was a graduate of UCLA and was working in Fresno State's biology laboratory technician, as a laboratory technician. So this is very tragic. There's really no way to even touch that. But it brings up a subject that really hasn't been given the full scope of attention, as far as I'm concerned. That people who are targeted suffer each and every day, and so I want to kind of talk about that and get into that. So when we say targeted, what does that mean? It sounds like kind of paranoid statement, but the way our DNA works, we're in this adaptation, and those of us that are more predominant in our fully activated 12-strand DNA, blueprint DNA, we're reflecting the angelic is a good term, but it's just more of a silicon-based composition, and those that are kind of holding up the species, they're expressing more predominantly in the reptilian side of the DNA, that being a lower frequency, and think reptiles, cold-blooded, aggression, rage, car driven by. So anyway, and this is kind of where we're at. This is the split. This is the split. So the designers of this virtual reality program, and I'm not going to get into it any more than that because we would waste time. Let's just say that this is a virtual reality program, and it was created. It was created by galactic forebears. Let's just say that, because that's easy. As humanity did not start on this planet, we are a hybrid experiment for the most part. I mean, that's really what it is. And so we're at a point where they always knew it would go, and we've cycled around many times, and they've been able to keep us under control. And that is that those of us that are awakening, or now some of us, such as myself, have always been awake, and I am consciously aware of coming here and in an effort to wake everybody up. And that has been my only thought my whole life. since I was a child. I took in information. I watched my karmic experience in this lifetime was MK Ultra through the entertainment industry. My mother was a young Catholic school rebel of Swedish background, and she had me at 17. We moved to Hollywood. By the time she was 20, I was 3 years old. She got a job at in the belly of the beast, which was at Procter & Gamble in Hollywood, which was kind of the as I said, the belly of the beast. They were doing the early experimentation with advertising and mind control through advertising and commercials and so on and so forth. So my mother was this young ingenue, this Swedish bombshell with a kid. But she was a secretary there, and they very soon after sent us off, my mother and I, to Cal State Los Angeles, to the psychiatric department, where we had regular sessions there. From there, my mother was sent to work at Desilu Studios, which was Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz's studio. And from there, she met my stepfather, who was an edge cutter himself. I kind of take after him in a lot of ways. My dad was not my biological father, but he was a cinema photographer in the film industry. And he met my mom when she was 19. He was married, and as per her MO, you know, she was a honey trap, a sex kitten. And my dad was very committed to, in spite of all of his maybe negative characteristics, in that he gambled and he was, you know, a womanizer, to say the least. My parents were swingers, so they brought multiple sex partners into our home when I was a child. Yeah, that was interesting for the brain to comprehend when you're, you know, like, wow, okay, I get this. But Bobby Morrison was actually a really great guy, and those were just, you know, some of the ways that he unfortunately had, you know, self-destructive tendencies. But he really stood for justice in the film industry at a time when, you know, there was a lot of discrimination. And my dad stood up for the little guy. My dad pushed for blacks and Hispanics, as well as women, to be in the Camera Guild and to be his assistants. He fought for them, and he was persecuted. So anyway, the way these things work is that once you establish that you're going to express in the angelic DNA and try to wake the others up, that's, you know, we're followed by our blood type from the time we're born. We're given a barcode, which is our social security number, and they track you. And as long as you're following the rules and, you know, doing what you're supposed to, at being productive, you're fine. And they have ways to really saturate and recondition your mind so that it's all reinforced. every system you go through, from your school system in the lower grades to the university, to any graduate programs, believe me, that is all systematic brainwashing on so many levels. And how you know is when it invokes cognitive dissonance, when you are left with the feeling that your brain is being put into a vice, and when you're treated in an abusive manner by professors and authority figures, this is what it is. It's a conditioning. You know, the church does it. Being that my mother was, you know, both my mother and father were sent to Catholic schools. I was lucky in that my grandparents were easy for me to manipulate, and so I was able to manipulate them into allowing me to not go to church, because I, you know, the few times that I went, I really, even at 4 years old, I knew what was going on. So I knew I couldn't stay there, and I had to get out of there. So I found a way to get out of that. So being awake my whole life is really been about dodging, you know, like dodging them. Okay, so who are they? Let's not worry about that for right now. So getting back to who we are in society. Generally, we're the artists. People that are more sensitive, you know, are artists, but people that are more sensitive are the ones that are pushing the species towards the angelic DNA. And so we're targeted in that there's frequency weaponry that's used, and it's been implemented through digital television, all of our digital devices, your smart meter, and these frequencies are set at a certain pitch that create disturbances in those of us that are affected by it. And then add to it all the metal that is in our environment, the metal in our teeth. But even more intense is this thought. Those of us who have O negative blood, that's, you know, part of the adaptation there. We have a higher copper content in our blood. So being that our bloodstream, our blood content in and of itself has a higher metal content, we absolutely are affected by everything they're doing, and they know it. They know it. Have you ever seen the TV show Person of Interest? They know what's going on. They really do. We're in a program. We're in a virtual reality program. There is a computer that's running the whole show. We're coming upon this lunar eclipse, blood, full moon, and being that the moon is part of their virtual reality program, it's connected to our subconscious mind. Now, we were not designed to have a subconscious mind. The reptilian race, the Draconians and their minions that have hijacked this planet and the human species, they have targeted us specifically, knowing that we are the ones that are going to evolve the species. Now, where things are at on the planet itself, because the planet is shifting, doing something it's never done before. So we're in really unknown territory. I mean, that's the truth of it. We're in unknown territory. So while we as a species are adapting, the planet itself is going, we're in 4D right now. So remember, 3D, not so much there anymore. So in 4D, no mushrooms, no hallucinogenics, no, because you will be attacked. You will be attacked by things, by creatures, by these interdimensional parasites that are everywhere. And so with our frequencies being with the frequencies that we're being targeted with, putting pressure on our nervous system, it's enabling the archons, who are the minions that control the subconscious mind through the moon and feed us misinformation about ourselves. The little, voices in your head that tell you negative things, that's the archons. And so you've got to really try to shut them out. This is what I'm sure happened with Tony, because they have been running suicide codes for 2 weeks straight that are so loud. I know they're doing it. I can hear it. Now, the thing about the way I'm designed is that I have a stellium of Virgo, which is more than 5 planets. Stellium of Virgo. Virgo is super analytical, detail-oriented, hyper-focused, critical eye kind of thing, discernment, just naturally. Okay, so add that, 5 times over, and then put it in the 12th house. Now, the 12th house is the house in our astrological chart that represents the hidden, the unseen, the unconscious, subconscious, the multi-dimensions. So the way I'm designed naturally, just the moment I hit this planet, my design, I was created to see between the lines, to sense the multi-dimensions, to discerningly read the subtext in language, in the way people talk. So and I'm also kind of one of my functions is to sift through information. So I kind of have to stay connected to some stream of information 24/7. It's been that way forever. So it's usually like the TV's on all the time. Number one, the white noise for me kind of tunes them out. The frequencies that, are being directed at me, and all of us, but me when it's in my house. So, but the other thing is that I've got to watch, I sift through, what the propaganda is, what they're trying to feed, the societal mind. And then also I read, I invert everything, and I read between what they're saying, because, they have to tell us the truth or they incur karma as well. But as long as they can trick us and get us to give ourselves away, use us against us, then they're good. That's good. They're fine. That, we did it to ourselves. They did it to themselves. And then now you see where that New Age philosophy comes in. it goes back down to cognitive dissonance. So I was raised by this MK Ultra, totally programmed, sociopathic, reptilian-based mother, and she would use everything New Age. She rejected the Catholicism and then sought everything, threw herself into everything there was to throw herself into. For me, you know, being exposed to transcendental meditation at 9 years old was pretty awesome. So I have to say I appreciate that. Because without learning those meditative skills and the power of the mind at such an early age, I don't think I would have ever withstood the challenges that were put in front of me. So when you're comprised in this specific way, with sensitivities, and you meet all this criteria, they have to watch you. Okay, so as long as they program you and you stay programmed, you stay asleep, it's good. But there's, you know, those of us that work really hard to stay hidden while in plain sight and consciously push our own agenda of waking up societal consciousness. Usually it's done through art because, yeah, that's obvious. So the way it works when you're targeted, for me, once I came up through punk rock and they saw that I was rejecting, you know, the young Hollywood ingenue role that they had crafted for me to move into, you know, as an actress, which, you know, for me that was like, I really wasn't challenged. I wanted to say what I needed to say. And I wanted it to come from me directly. I wanted to stand up in front of you and say it. So I don't know why, but that's how it had to happen for me. And so music was the catalyst for that. And being that I'm a yellow overtone warrior. So sonically speaking, my voice has a built-in healing tone to it, an overtone. And so I was singing, like, before I was speaking, like sentences. I was singing first. I sang, that was what I did. And as a little tiny munchkin, that's what I was known for, was singing. Not like today's kids where, you know, they're like Celine Dion at 3. But I just mean, you know, like Shirley Temple-ish. But, you know, not pretentious, just free and wanting to sing. So that was my overtone expressing itself at an early age. And I came to the, you know, my own recognition of the tone of my singing voice being a healing tool. I realized that in my 20s, and there, you know, you can find all kinds of information on this stuff on the internet now, but back then we didn't have that kind of information accessible to us. My mother was an astrologer. So I was exposed to astrology at a very young age, and kind of everything that I do, my being drawn to crystals, hands-on healing, recognizing my voice as having healing, sonic healing tones that affected people's heart chakras. These things were just all intuitive. So for the most part, that is a lot of what I do, is just I intuitively process this Earth experience from the perspective of being a member of the Invisible College. And I'll put some links so that you can go and check out what the Invisible College is about, because those of us that are awakening society, those of us that are pushing the species onto a higher plateau of evolution, that's kind of, we're part of the Invisible College. So anyway, I'll put links for that, and you can know more about that because it's very interesting stuff. A lot of the stuff that I didn't talk about has to do with the geoengineering and being targeted, okay? So our society is being targeted through geoengineering and through GMOs in the food stream, which began in 93, 94. I know because by the fall of 94, I was starting to react to all food. So being targeted is not only can hit us through, you know, the societal concentration of what they're doing. Again, the digital television, the GMOs in our food, and the aluminum and barium that they're putting into the air every day. They're trying to they're trying to create a new hybrid out of what's already being done, and geoengineer us towards transhumanism, whereas we are going through a natural transmutation process. Our transmutation is occurring naturally through a process of kind of what you call photosynthesis, having to do with the sun and the sun activating it. So they're controlling the sun. They're controlling us through the aspects of the moon and our subconscious that they created, kind of just like an adaptation of what the original reality here was. Then they created this virtual reality that they control. So, but being targeted and gang stalking, it gets more specific than that. Let's say you're a whistleblower. We've seen it time and time again, what they've done to whistleblowers. They have heart attacks all of a sudden, or they suicide all of a sudden out of the blue. They have aneurysms. That's because they're being targeted with the frequency weaponry. Sometimes, you know, another reaction to it is people kill other people. So the evidence of this is in the news. Every day, this is accelerated every day. People are committing suicide. They're dying very young of heart attacks. They're dying very young of cancer. Well, that's the radiation also from Fukushima, and being microwaved because they microwave people. That's another part of their weaponry and how they target people. So if you're a whistleblower or if you're creating dissension, you know, they find a way, one way or another, to deal with you. And, you know, the best way to do it is to have the herd turn on the weak sheep, so to speak. So while while you're being targeted, you know, your fellow man who is following more the reptilian line of our DNA split is also being sent signals, and they're being used as puppets to further terrorize a targeted individual. You can have a whole town or a whole company. You can be driven out of a company, you know, if you try to reveal some corporate secrets. This is happening to people, and how they, you know, lead you to suicide too is just in this way that people are targeted. They try to drive you mad, and they use language to feed parasites into your mind, and they weaken your financial foundation with the intention of driving you to homelessness and hopefully institutionalization. Once they can get you into an institution, they can get pharmaceuticals into you, and they can keep you, you know, like numb. Because as long as you're awake and you're working consciously to push the species into our higher DNA expression, you're a threat to them. Who are they? I said I'd come back to this. So they are our government and all of the institutions that control everything, all the authority figures. They, from early on, were infiltrated by the reptilian race that has taken over, that controls this matrix, this prison camp, because that's really what it is at this point. It used to be very hidden. There's a lot of illusion, and people were led to believe things were a certain way. And see, gosh, my whole life I've been saying this. I've known this was coming. I tried to tell people. It's very frustrating, but it's okay because we're here. So that's my point. It's okay. I know where we are. And this is not going to be easy. The New Age baloney wanted people to think, oh, just let it be. It's the way it's supposed to be. And you know what? It isn't. What happened to this planet, what happened to out in the wars in the galaxies, were certain planets and races of people refused to get involved in the wars out in the galaxies. And they said, oh, we don't do that. We don't fight. You know, we're above and beyond that. That's your battle. By not standing up for all of us and participating in the way that strengthens and unites us in one common goal, not transhumanizes us into some one world order, but I mean really the way things work and are supposed to work. We're multidimensional. We're every color. We're every, excuse me, goodbye little fly. We're every color. We're every texture. We're every animal that exists. Birds, dolphins, cats, dogs. We're every version of that mixed with human DNA, you know. We're all those things, including reptilian. You know, when I was 4 years old, I was being sexually abused. And when this thing began, when the perpetrators first got hold of me, because it was systematic, in order for my psyche not to split off, because it's a really early age, an interdimensional being came and took me, my consciousness, my soul, out of my physical body that was being, sexually abused. And it took me to, probably the fourth dimension, in thinking back. And this happened repetitively for a long period of time. So it's very vivid, and I remember it very well. So, and he was a vampire. And really, vampires are parasites. They're an adaptation of reptiles, in the parasitic nature. So this vampire came and took me out of my body, took me to a house, a bedroom in a house, where, more cars going by outside, where I played with a little boy. And so every time this married couple who were sexually abusing me did so, this vampire would come and get me and take me out of my body so I wasn't psychologically damaged, and I would play with this little boy. And from what I understood, it seemed like it was his son, but what was communicated to me was that, wow, all of a sudden there's a highway outside my door. Now that's kind of how the targeted individual stuff works too. It's like how there's always an AT&T truck at the end of my driveway. It's kind of like how I always know that I'm being watched. It's kind of like how when I first moved here, there was a knock at my door and some very strange person said, "We've been waiting for you." And then I was handed a book that had pornography inside of it. That's MK Ultra trigger stuff. That's how they let you know that they're watching you. I live in a very remote area, so it's, like I said, they're trying to stop us from communicating. So, the vampire, yes. I know that sounds so crazy, but it's completely true. And if you think about it, that's, all of us are hybrids, and a vampire is a hybrid human as well, So, anytime I was being perpetrated, my vampire friend would come and take me, out of my body and to play with the young man. And from what I came to understand is that he turned the child accidentally out of desperation, and so the child became his to ward his he was the child's guardian now, because the child was never going to grow older. So he was trying to choose to go against his lower DNA impulses, and he was kind of moving with his empathy in seeing me there, and he was trying to make good choices to rectify some karma. So when he saw me the first time, he figured that he would take me out of the situation and I could play with the young man. And he would be helping me, and he would also be doing good for the young man that, he turned and was responsible for, the fact that the boy was trapped being a boy forever. So, anyway, I played with this young man several, who was also a vampire, if I didn't make that clear. I played in this, fourth dimensional holding area with the young man. I don't know how many times. It was more than 5. But anyway, when the soap opera Dark Shadows began, I immediately was drawn to it, and I was never afraid of vampires. When I saw vampire movies or vampires in pop culture, they never frightened me. I was never afraid of them. And so I guess what I want you to remember is that we're all reptilian. I know people forget that. They're like, oh, the reptiles. Yeah, there's some really badass assholes that have control of this planet. And they have control of those that will express themselves only in that frequency, thus their reptilian DNA. But, we are all challenged in the same way. We are all asked to step up and step forward, no matter what our soul signature is, no matter what our DNA composition is, what our lineage is. We're asked to accept each other, and really benevolent and malevolent. Really, those are two sides of one coin. That's the duality gridlock again. Light and dark. We're moving beyond that. So what happens is when they want to polarize you, when they want to, prick you and draw you into their low frequency shit, you really just have to laugh. You have to find the humor. You have to say, no, I don't think so. I'm not going there. Even if it feels maniacal for you to do so, it's that declaration. I have tons of crystals. Amethyst and chlorite together will help you with implants, with psychic attacks, organs. Make some organs. It can be a little pricey, so sometimes it's better if you look around. Make sure you're getting organs with high quality components inside of it, not just cheap stuff, but good components. I have some. You can go to the orangeray.com website, and I've got access to that there. Or email me at nd@orangeray.com, and I can hook you up with some organs. But crystals and organs will absolutely absorb a lot of the frequencies that they're sending out. I was lucky enough to reject the smart meter in spite of them coming 3 times and trying to put it in. Oh, the order got somehow. No. In spite of the fact that, I was there the first time, said no smart meter, somehow the computer kept losing that and sending the another technician out. Luckily, I've got great guys, and they understood, no, my health, I can't have those things. So, but to absorb the other frequencies, if it weren't for the crystals and all the organs I have, man, I don't know. And, I make jewelry with crystals, so, they're strategically on my body in meridian points and covering chakras. I sleep with them under my pillows. I'm telling you, in every way that you can learn online through reputable sources, in your research, you need to protect yourself, because we're all being targeted, and then there's those of us that are really being targeted. And once you get on their radar, you're always there. You're always there. And there are some really, really good people that are suffering. It's so beyond me how this can be going on, and right in front of people, and they don't know it. There's like a whole section of society that doesn't see what's happening, and then those of us, you know, obviously that are waking up, and that are able to see this, you know, you go through the cognitive dissonance of, no, this can't be happening. You know, your mind breaks. It's like, no. So then there's, you know, trying to reject it. But once you wake up, there's no going back. There's no going back. And so you're better off if you just rectify that within yourself and strengthen your mind, you know, meditate, find a discipline that is self-healing, you know, be it, you know, sound healing or some form of energy healing, crystals, yoga, a lot of different disciplines will give you the tools to strengthen your mental agility, because this is a battle of wills. This is what we're up against. It's going to be the strongest will. And because I've seen this my whole life, what this was, I've seen all the different parallel timelines that I could go down and what the different outcomes would be. And so much of the way my life has transpired, there are lots of components of it that I'm, you know, right on schedule for surviving whatever we're about to go through, because we are going to go. We have to stand up collectively to what's going on. There are our star nations out there that can help us and that will help us to a point, but we have to help ourselves. We have to rectify that for ourselves. We have to stand up and take control and override the program. You know, Scott Lemrile's suggestion of, you know, doing the tone hue 5 times, you know, twice a day is extremely helpful to disconnecting the parasites. You know, you know, 5 times. I do it twice a day. And he says you can do it silently, and you can. I can just, if I'm in a place where I need to tone it, you know, I'm toning it right now. You know, I can hear it. I'm hewing. It works. It really does. So, this is just barely scratching the surface, but you know, every day the energy is getting more and more intense. So, I know that I'm being challenged. I'm sick every day. And when I'm sick, I'm nauseated. I can't eat food. I'm being radiated constantly. I'm being electrocuted. And this has been going on for a long time, so I just try to ignore it. You know, it's not, oh, this is happening to me. You know, it's happening. It's been happening for a long time. So sometimes it's less, sometimes it's more. Sometimes I can't even talk to other MK Ultras without them hanging up and disconnecting the phone, you know, like repetitively. They've turned off my air conditioning on a 103-degree day, you know, in the room that I was in, to let me know, you know, like, oh, the heat is on. So this stuff it's 100% real. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. And just because you haven't experienced it doesn't mean it's not real, okay? Those people that believe in Jesus and all that stuff, the way that goes down, hey, awesome for you. That's cool. But it's just as elusive for my mind to understand as, it is for maybe your mind to understand how, these interdimensional parasites are sent and directed at people to terrorize them. And they take control of other people whose souls are weak in an effort to use them to help drive the targeted individual mad, to suicide, to go postal, whatever the circumstances are. So it's completely real. And I'm sorry that Blessed Tony was unfortunately caught in that mix and was not strong enough to override what was happening and probably didn't even realize it. Even being consciously aware of it, it doesn't help. It's like they just put it on like so thick that it's impossible. It's impossible to hear your own self. So, finding music, I go down and I tone my crystal bowls and I just zap them right out. And, or I hang out with the animals. That's why I love all the animals so much, because they really reconnect me to sense of purpose and a real family of Earth, and a real Earth family, because the Earth's family isn't just man. Man. It's not just humans. It's all species. It's all of our brothers and sisters. It's all of the animals. It's all of the beautiful fish in the sea. And this reptilian race is destroying all of it. And it's up to us to keep waking everyone up and getting the message out that we're awake, we know what you're doing, and we're not going to let it happen. And you can't continue to abuse and terrorize people the way that you do. You're bullies. And you know what? All that shows is weakness. Weakness. You're weak. You're weak and you're scared. You're afraid of us because we're stronger than you. Because we emanate light. Because we are connected to our heart chakra. Because we can love. We have empathy. And you can't. You can't do that. And I'm sorry for you. I'm sorry that you can't. But you can't control us anymore. Your time is up. The future timelines have already changed and altered. And I've seen the other side of this. So I know that you don't destroy this planet and you don't destroy humanity. So stop scaring us and release the planet. Find what you need to hold yourselves high. Hold yourselves up above the din of their low frequencies. Because we got a few more days to get through. And this is going to be a really intense year. And it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. It's not doom. It's not fear. It's like a coach. We got some work to do. And it's all okay. Because we're going to do it. And fear can't be a part of this program to be able to win this game, so to speak. It has to be an adventure. Anyway, peace, guys.
The liberties of the people never were nor ever will be secure when the transactions of the rulers will be concealed from them. Patrick Henry. If you've been paying attention, Hillary Clinton's in a bunch of hot water because while she was Secretary of State, she had a private email sent to a private server at her own home address. She didn't want to use hillaryclinton.gov as her email address. She didn't think it was important that the American people know her activities while she was holding this important position within government. And when somebody found out, what did she start doing? She started deleting a bunch of files. And the National Archives and Records Administration says they're all lost and there's nothing that they can do. They oversee all their freaking transactions of all government officials to make sure they're all being kept in recorded history. All their procedures, all their decisions, and all their activities was there for the American people to look at to make sure they were working within the constitutionality within government. And we could hold their feet to the fire if we see anything wrong with it. But there's nothing they could do in this position. But America, don't believe that shit. It's a bunch of bullshit. Because in every episode of CSI, when they catch one guy with child pornography, they look at all his uploads, all his file sharings, all his pictures and emails, and even if the guy deleted them, they're gonna get a warrant, seize the tower, and get all those files, even if he didn't want them to. There's no privacy for the average American voter. But America, I guess this episode doesn't end like all the rest of them because it's Hillary. Next is going to be the militarization of your local police departments by the United States federal government. This Obama administration just announced a new training program called the Task Force for the 21st Century in Policing. They gave them a new program called Beware to assess the threat level of each and every one of the citizens with social media. Either you're going to be green, a blue, or a red. But guess I'm a red because I'm exposing government tyranny. They got a new equipment like Stingray to data mine all your personal information from your cell phone without a freaking warrant. That's erosion of your Fourth Amendment. They got bomb-resistant vehicles that were used in Iraq and Afghanistan, and it's all for the American people's safety. Don't believe that shit, America. It's just the militarization of your local police departments. Part 3 is the FCC and net neutrality. They said they're going to go after internet providers to make sure they don't slow the access to certain websites or charge us more for their services. But that's farther from the truth, America. Don't believe that bullshit. What they're actually going to do is put a new governing board to control the flow of information that we share with one another. They're going to make certain websites like Drudge Report get permits, and they don't deem them credible news agency, or they're going to deny them permits. They're going to stop your access of receiving the information on your inbox. If they don't think it's credible, you're going to deny you that access, America. It's free speech as we know it on the World Wide Web. And most of this information, we don't even know what's in it. 300 pages of a bunch of bullshit.
When